Here's how you get a traffic stop thrown out in the courtroom based on an unnecessary reasonable cause. An unnecessary reasonable cause is a URS and is defined synonymously as no cause at all, no reason at all. So, in essence, an unreasonable cause is the same synonymously in context as having no reason whatsoever. That's the same as having no logic, no deductive method to why they are protocoling your traffic stop. Using or asking another what their probable cause is a miscommunicative effort to interact with another person articulately, to comprehend and understand their deductive method that they're applying to get to know who you are. They need a reason, not a probability. So off the bat, there's already miscommunicative standards that is causing a discrepancy in the interaction of the entire scene. There is a reason why an officer needs a reasonable articulate suspicion to pull you over and not a probable articulate suspicion to pull you over. They're simply not synonyms of one another. When you go to a slot machine and you pull the lever, there is no reasonability that you can use to deduce why you should win. That is an example of a scenario that requires no reason, no logic, no rationality. Just hope, faith, and luck. So when an officer is pulling you over without a reason, a substantial reason that can be proven factually, he's pulling you over based on a probability. Hope, luck, faith. If he does not have his reasonable cause, which will always turn out with your traffic stop being null and voided and thrown out. You see, if there's no deductible method that an officer can rationally explain to an articulated accordance, well then, there's no way to prove that he or she is using any reason. They wouldn't be using probability. They would be using reason. We have a reasonability, not a probability. We use reasonability to deduce. We don't use probability to deduce. So this is already a deeply ingrained misnomer. There's simply no way for an officer to have probable cause because they're not using probability to deduce why they are citing you. They're using the rational capacity to deduce the law that you broke down by their reasonability. They need a reasonable cause. They need a reasonable articulate suspicion. So, if all they have is probability, they're bound to clam up at some point. And they clam up because they cannot be found not using any reason at all. Because then, to a psychological standing at a 730's evaluation, they would be unlogical. They would be unrational. They would be unkept. They would be mentally unfit. They would be logically unsound. They would be not in their right mind. They would be unconscious of the correct way to conduct an interaction with a stranger safely. They would be unconscious of that, of how to conduct these interactions. Literally, can be literally using the wrong terminology. What the fuck? So essentially, this is how you get out of a traffic stop. If you are addressing the officer with an inquisition as to his reasonable cause for wanting to know who you are. What is his reason for wanting to know who you are? And he has to give you that reason. And if he attempts to give you his probable cause, you simply correct him and ask him for his reasonable cause, not his probable cause. By law, you are allowed to audio record your dialogue with the officer, as you should. It is wiser to audio record than it is to video record, so that the interaction is more amicable, proven in a courtroom. You know, sometimes people get a little bit different. They get a little bit edgy when they have a camera in front of their face. You can show the courtroom, as you should show the courtroom, that during the interaction, you was amicable enough to audio record them instead of video recording them, so that the court can understand the difference between having a reasonable cause for a reasonable articulate suspicion and having no reason at all whatsoever. Because if there's no reason ever, then there's no way to prove that harassment, racial profiling, racial discrimination, bigotry, biasness is the only rational capacity of that officer. There's no way to prove that that is not the case. Know your place.